Hi-ho, Kermit the Frog here, and welcome to Muppet Vision 3D.
Oh my gosh. It's time for the show. Where is everybody? Hi there. I'm Kermit the Frog, and we're almost ready. Fozzie? Gonzo? Piggy?
Oh, not you guys. How did you get here?
We entered a contest. Yeah, we lost.
Oh, good. Now, where's everybody else?
Oh, they're coming on the monorail.
But Fozzie, the monorail doesn't come through here.
It does now. Monorail!
Here we are.
We're back. Okay, introducing
WDW Radio, your information station.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to the WDW Radio Show, your Walt Disney World information station. I am your host, Lou Mongello, and this is show number 169 for the week of May 9th, 2010. With the recent closing of Jim Henson's Muppet Vision 3D at Disney's Hollywood Studios for an unspecified update, it's a great time to look back at the relationship between Disney and the Muppets, including the story of how the Muppets came to Walt Disney World in a variety of ways. We'll tour the park and explore some of the secrets, stories, and history of Muppet Vision 3D, Muppet-based shows that are no longer here, the Disney-Henson marriage, as well as the Muppets that never were, as Jim Korkis and I wander the studios and discuss some of the proposed concepts that never made it both in and out of the theme parks. It's a fascinating live tour of the Muppets in the present, as well as a look back in time and possibly even into the future of the Muppets in Walt Disney World. I'll have a few announcements and then play more of your voicemails at the end of the show, so sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's episode of the WDW Radio Show.
Look, an orchestra of penguins. Yeah, probably took the job for the hell of it.
I think the secret behind the Disney magic is the timeless quality of the characters and the stories, and even here in the theme park, so many of the attractions. And much like Disney, there is something else from my childhood, and I think many others, that has always remained timeless and continues to be classic and is loved by new generations time and time again, and those are the Muppets. I grew up on Sesame Street like a lot of people did, and when Muppet Vision came to Disney's Hollywood Studios, that marriage just made sense because they are two companies and franchises that deal in wholesome, fun, family-friendly entertainment with those same classic stories and characters. And while we have and enjoy Jim Henson's Muppet Vision 3D here at Disney's Hollywood Studios, there's a lot that we didn't get from the marriage of the Jim Henson Company and the Muppets and Walt Disney World and the Disney Company. And to once again help tell us some of those stories behind the stories is someone who, like the Muppets and like many of the Disney characters, is a timeless character himself. I'm speaking of course, none other than everyone's favorite historian, Disney storyteller, author, magician, all-around nice guy, Jim Korkis.
Well, waka waka. Well, Lou, it's always a pleasure to get together with you, especially today, since it's such a nice day out here at the park. And we're out here at Muppet Plaza, the entranceway into Muppet Vision 3D. And as you alluded to, this was actually going to be the keynote anchor attraction for a much larger expansion of this area, which was to be known as Muppet Studios back in 1990. And we can still see some of the remnants because as we are in the plaza, we see that the theming with these bricks, the fact that the bathroom is Broadway plumbing. This is a New York theme to theme in with New York Street, which is just on the other side. So again, this was done purposely so that it would be an easy transition for guests to go from one area of the park now into another area of the park. And even though so much has been written about Muppet Vision 3D, and we're going to talk about some little secrets and fun facts about it later, it's still such a delightful attraction. And sitting out here, there is just so much to see. And in fact, we just spent some time wandering around and seeing some new things.
Yeah, and we've both been here and been fans of Muppet Vision, for years. And like you said, when we were talking earlier, we knew where to look for things, and we're still sort of pointing out little details and fun facts and secrets along the way. And it's always interesting to look at the things that never were. And we talk about some of those blue sky concepts and love seeing old concept art from the Magic Kingdom and Epcot. But here at the studios, especially, Jim, Muppet Vision, like everything that was planned for Roger Rabbit, there were so many more plans to bring these characters from these films and the TV shows in, and Muppet Vision, even beyond Roger Rabbit, really is a great example of that, because like you said, we weren't just supposed to get the Muppet Vision 3D show, we were supposed to get really what was going to entail a full new land here.
And that's true. Actually, in the late 80s, the Disney company was really looking to expand, even beyond the Disney properties. In fact, there were negotiations going on with Jay Ward's family. Jay Ward, of course, responsible for Rocky and Bullwinkle, Dudley Do-Right, Super Chicken, all of that. Buena Vista Home Video was having quite the success releasing the Rocky and Bullwinkle shows on videotape, and so they were looking to actually make a deal to buy those characters and do merchandising and have an area over here at the studios that would have been related to that franchise. But again, negotiations, and once you get lawyers involved and you worry about fiscal responsibility, and by the time all of that was going on, Universal stepped in and made the Ward family a better offer, and off they went. But at the same time...
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think, hindsight being 2020, do you think that the Rocky and Bullwinkle and some of those franchises would have fit in here maybe the same way a Roger Rabbit or even Muppets might have?
Actually, I think so. I think over at Universal, people love Ripsaw Falls and all the little in-gags. And I think especially during that time period where Disney was re-experiencing that creativity, both in their animation and their live-action films, and looking for all those expansions, which eventually happened over at Euro Disney and all of that, bringing that Jay Ward franchise to the Disney studios might have created some lunacy and some wackiness that Disney characters would not have been able to accomplish. We love seeing Donald Duck get his comeuppance, but we never want to see that happen to a Mickey Mouse. But with the Ward characters, yes, it's that wild and crazy, not just wordplay, but broad slapstick action.
And I just think it's interesting because with the relatively recent acquisition of the Marvel franchise and the Marvel characters, that is not obviously something that's new to Disney, going out and finding other successful franchises bringing them into the Disney fold and incorporating them. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Marvel into the Disney franchise and eventually the Disney theme parks.
Yes, but the trick is then finding a way of incorporating that franchise and leveraging it. We were talking a little earlier this afternoon about the fact that now that Disney has acquired the Muppets, what are they doing to, make full use of that franchise? And so I'm also going to be very curious as to how Disney starts to exploit the Marvel franchise, which obviously was brought in so that it would appeal to a demographic that Disney was having some challenges reaching, young boys. But, we're going to be talking today about some things that could have happened in 1990 with Disney and the Muppets. Regretfully, I don't think some of those same projects could be revived today, even though Disney owns the Muppets, because I think it's a much different company. I think there's more of a vision of fiscal responsibility rather than risk-taking. And yes, we'll spend the money if we know we're going to get the result.
Well, it was interesting and exciting to see last year at the D23 Expo, we started to get a small glimpse of what we were hoping was going to be a reintroduction of the Muppets. There was Kermit on stage, and they were introducing some things, and then out comes the Mark Twain riverboat, and Kermit and some of the other Disney characters are out there, and the crowd lost their minds, and then we're seeing trickles of some of these viral videos coming out online. So we're starting to say, well, wait a minute, is this maybe that slow and subtle reintroduction? Is Disney maybe trying to gauge our reaction to what is going on? Because I think the reaction from many people is, yeah, we want more. And if the millions of hits that these videos are getting online are any indication, maybe they're getting the response they're looking for.
Well, and one of the reasons we got together today was to take a look back at what could have been, and maybe that will springboard some ideas for what could happen today. In the late 80s there, Michael Eisner and Jim Henson got together, and Jim Henson was making arrangements where he was going to sell the entire Muppet franchise to Disney. And he was looking forward to doing that for a couple of reasons. First off, he had gotten very tired of the business side. In fact, he kept complaining that it was pulling him away from being creative and actually playing with the puppets, because now you have to worry about payrolls, you have to worry about this, you have to worry about that, and that can get overwhelming, especially when you started out as a mom and pop business. In addition, the Muppets had a multi-million-dollar debt, which is not unusual. You would expect that for most companies, but again, selling to Disney would have wiped out that debt, gave a little bit extra. And also by 88, 89, 90, the Muppets, even though they were well-known, even though they were well-loved, they weren't as hot as they had been when the Muppet Show was on TV and the first Muppet movie had come out and all of that. And so Henson, I think, was also hoping that by selling to Disney, it would give it a much wider audience, and that Disney would generate some more excitement for that franchise. Interestingly enough, the contract, there were some challenges. First off, Disney realized that the real value was not just the characters themselves, but Jim Henson, and so they had to negotiate back and forth, and finally settled on the fact that if this went through, that Disney would then have exclusive rights to Jim Henson and his creativity for 10 years. So Jim generating new projects and all of that weren't necessarily Muppet related. But the biggest challenge for the lawyers was trying to define what is a Muppet, because you have to do that in the contract. Since the Muppets are being sold, what is a Muppet? so that if somebody comes up with a puppet like that, Disney can step in and say, well, wait a minute, no, that's a Muppet. See, by this definition, so you can't do that, or whatever. Even when Avenue Q was on Broadway and was so popular, they literally had to have disclaimers saying these are not Muppets. So that was one of the things that slowed down the signing of the contract, because Jim Henson did intend to sign that contract, and it was all just that legal wrangling that prevented that from happening.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that delay in getting this contract signed is what led to a lot of these projects not happening. A lot of what became a very bitter, heated battle between the Henson estate and the Disney company when Jim Henson finally passes. Oh,
absolutely. In fact, the whole Muppet Studios area in the back here would have been up and running by 1993 easily, and Eisner was looking forward to introducing the Muppet characters and literally having them run loose in the Disney parks. One of the plans was 1990, and again, Jim Henson passed away in May 1990. One of the plans was this was going to be the start of the celebration of Disneyland's 35th birthday. And so the concept was going to be there would be that big kickoff of the celebration, and then Mickey Mouse would just literally say, oh my gosh, the gang and I, we're just so tired, we're so overwhelmed by this. And so Kermit and his friends said, well, we're so happy to be part of the Disney family now that if you need to take a vacation, we'll step in and take over. And so in Disneyland, Mickey and the Fab Five would disappear from Memorial Day weekend to Labor Day weekend, and the Muppets would come into Disneyland to take over. And so you'd still have Snow White and Captain Hook and all the others walking around, but Mickey, Minnie, Pluto, Goofy, Donald, they'd be gone. And the Muppets would have taken over, and so they would have done the meet and greets and all of that. There were plans to paint the Matterhorn green, and at night have a white image of Kermit projected on the Matterhorn and all of that. And, of course, so there'd be a big party and a big event when Mickey and all went on vacation, and then another one when they came back, and you'd still have the 35th to celebrate. And, in fact, there were even plans to have Muppet 3D open at Disneyland in 1990.
And the funny thing about that, and it would have been very interesting looking back to see, had the Fab Five... I think that's something that only would have been able to have taken place at Disneyland because of the different dynamic of the two parks and the crowds. Because if that family that's been saving for 3 years came to Walt Disney World in July and was told, sorry, Mickey, you can't go see any of the Fab Five, but Gonzo is available right around the corner, I think you'd have some very unhappy guests, although I think in Disneyland that might actually have been a fun, workable gimmick.
And I think Disney left itself an out where, since they wouldn't announce officially where the gang was taking their vacation, it could have been in Burbank, so they could have come back at any time. Or, oh, wait, we forgot this. We're coming back just for this weekend to do all of that. But no, in 1990, and then it took another a decade or more for Muppet Vision 3D to get there, but there were plans for Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln to be removed and Muppet Vision 3D to be put in. But at a National Fantasy Fan Club convention, and an Imagineer let the cat out of the bag, and sure enough, the next Monday, the headline in the newspapers was... Kermit assassinates Abraham Lincoln. And so all of these people who had never been to Great Moments in Mr. Lincoln in years, suddenly there was this big, how dare you take out this traditional, fabled thing and replace it with something as trivial as the Muppets. And of course, Disney had only talked about this. They hadn't announced anything. They hadn't made any formal plans. So there's no possible way they can come out and deny, because we never said we were going to do this in the first place. But that delayed the coming of the Muppets out there to Disneyland. And of course, with the death of Jim Henson in May of 1990, and by December of 1990, negotiations had fallen apart because the Disney company philosophy was one of the greatest assets in the deal was the access to the creativity of Jim Henson personally for 10 years. Now that was no longer going to be part of the deal, maybe that deal needed to be renegotiated. And, of course, the Henson family did not respond positively to that. And so by December 1990, negotiations fell apart. So we almost didn't have Muppet Vision 3D out here in Florida.
Yeah, but what did happen, though, and timing being everything, and I think this obviously led to an additional wrench in the negotiations, is 9 days after Jim Henson dies, May 25th, 1990, Here Come the Muppets opens, where Voyage of the Little Mermaid now sits. And clearly the Henson family, and I think maybe even some people on this side, were questioning whether that was the right thing to do. Was it too soon? Was it disrespectful? Certainly his family felt that way and obviously didn't help things going forward. But Disney, had already previewed that it was going to coming. And how do you not go ahead and open that to people that may have been anticipating it?
Exactly. There had been massive publicity that had come out, and there had been a great deal of money invested. As you remember, in the stage show, the Disney monorail actually crashes through the side of the building for that to come in. And again, this was a project that Jim Henson had worked on personally. And when Walt died, they still kept Disneyland open that day. And so it was the same time period, and it's like, well, is it more disrespectful not to run it? With all of this that had been put in place. And so, in hindsight, you can make some decisions at the time, because at the time too, Disney felt that since the contract was just days away from being signed, it was just a formality that was going to be signed off, and Disney would have the rights to these. Jim Henson only saw one, except in rehearsals and early production stages, only saw one live interaction of his Muppet characters with guests at the Disney's the Disney MGM studios at the time, and that was in back in the days before there was a Sunset Boulevard. There was a Theater of the Stars, and they had a show called Hollywood's Pretty Women, which with all of these beautiful Disney dancers up there. And towards the end of the show, Kermit actually comes out and does a number with the Disney dancers. Well, from the side where the audience is, the doors open up and a pink Cadillac comes out with Miss Piggy riding in that. And, of course, she is tremendously upset that Kermit is up there doing that. So she gets out of the Cadillac, goes up on the stage, does a production number, which is the final number, and then Kermit and Miss Piggy get back into the Cadillac and then drive off, and the show is over. And that was chosen purposely, first off, because it was inexpensive and easy to mount quickly, but to establish the theme that the Muppets would be running loose at Disney MGM Studios. They might pop up in a show. They might pop up in a ride. They might pop up around the corner. And so that anarchy that you were used to seeing in the TV show and in the films, yes, this was going to happen live action. Here come the Muppets, and Here Come the Muppets was just the tip of the iceberg in terms of shows. There was the the show Muppets on Location, Days of Swine and Roses. And what was going to happen over by the front of the park, where Oscar's service station is, and the parade usually exits on the opposite side there, the doors would swing open and out would come a full-sized gonzo in a director's chair, and there would be a camera crane, and there would be this two-story float. The bottom half would have Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem, and up top were Miss Piggy and Kermit, running lines and all this. And this would go down Hollywood Boulevard and then would stop in front of the Chinese Theater where it would stage, and they would go through, the rehearsal or the performance for Days of Swine and Roses, and that would happen 2 or 3 times a day. And there were also plans for the magnificent Muppet Motorcade, which was going to be a huge parade down Hollywood Boulevard. Not the typical, let's just stick a couple of characters in a car and bring them down. This was going to be a theatrical event. And those, along with Here Come the Muppets, again, just the tip of the iceberg compared to Muppet Studios that we're going to talk about here shortly.
And that's the thing, although this contract wasn't signed, the plane was in flight, man. Things were going on. These were not simply just concepts. The detail that you were rattling off, there was concept art. There were plans. These things were going to happen. And you're right, beyond just having a parade like the Hercules Parade or the Milan Parade, they were going to be an integral part of the studios beyond being walk-around characters, which, of course, fits in here because it's a working studio. It would be normal for you to be on a studio in California and see characters from one soundstage walking to the commissary or whatever it might be. So no problem with the integrity there that you would have maybe in the Magic Kingdom. But we were going to get this Muppet Land, and I specifically remember being on the Backlot Tram tour, and the big, huge red doors that lift up on the side were giant billboards for this Muppetization that was coming, according to the signs, very, very soon.
And in fact, it was all in place. And again, Disney had every expectation this was going to get signed because Jim Henson gave every intention he was going to sign this because he was already working on other projects. Just recently, I saw the 2 episodes of the Little Mermaid Island show. This was a TV show that was going to be done for Disney Playhouse. You had a live-action performer playing Ariel, and the rest were Jim Henson Muppets. So Sebastian is a Muppet, and Flounder is a Muppet, and he has a little sister named Sandy who looks exactly like him, except she's pink and yellow instead of blue and yellow, and the whole concept is in the middle of this sea is the Little Mermaid Island. There's going to be several original songs each episode, and she's still in her little, cave of treasures underneath the sea, but there was waterway access into the center of the island, so you could go into the island and the whole bit. And again, it was done for that demographic that would see Welcome to Pooh Corners and things like that, but he's already involved with it. There's already 2 episodes that are completed, before his death. And it was even announced in the newspapers that it would premiere on the Disney Channel in the fall. So, there was every intent that, my gosh, this was going to happen. So, again, going back to 1989, 1990. Now, this is before the concept of Toontown takes place. And there was even discussion of introducing the Muppets into Disneyland's version of Toontown up there. So it was a similar concept. Let's get a place where the Muppet characters live and work. And as I said, the anchor attraction was going to be Muppet Vision 3D. And right now, right around to the left-hand side, and we're seeing all of these people just walking by without noticing it. If you take a look over, there's a blue door, and that blue door is Rizzo Rat's prop department, and that door literally leads into that prop room that you have as the pre-show for the show, and there's a purple stairway that goes up, and it says Editing and Catering, Swedish Chef, from Quick Cuts to Cold Cuts. And that is really about approximately the area where you would go in where the projector is. And so the Swedish Chef is up there as well. And yet we have people just walking right by. They're not even taking a look at the piping where faces have been painted on. We discovered some of that actually behind the attraction, didn't we?
Yeah, we unfortunately had to go into it. It's still a guest area, but it's not used anymore because when the studios first opened and when Muppet Vision first opened, there wasn't a lot here. So the lines for Muppet Vision were enormously long. There was no fast pass. There wasn't. So there's a queue, an extended outdoor queue on the right-hand side of the entrance if you're facing the Muppet Vision building, which is incredibly well-themed, not just with the Muppetization of faucets and fixtures and air ducts and pipes and lights, but there are numerous coming attraction posters that have been Muppetized for old films like The Poseidon Adventure and Star Wars, Die Hard 2, maybe not quite as timely or as good, but even, and it's funny, Jim, they've recently been updated too. Mm-hmm. There's ones for Wild Hogs. There's a great one. There's Beaky for Wall-E, one of my favorites. Obviously, High School Musical, Hannah Montana, but so very well done. There are the posters that instruct you on how to use your 3D glasses that guests, unfortunately, now don't get a chance to see, but we were even lamenting to a certain degree as we were walking into the queue, because we wanted to see Muppet Vision again for the 10,000th time, walking by the key under the mat and the security office and the signs and the billboards and the doorways and even all the incredible props that are in that holding area. The pre-show, which really qualifies as a show in and of itself because of how very well done the pre-show film is.
And I was talking about how very much this is an American attraction, that it really wouldn't fit as well in Tokyo or in Paris because so much in terms of wordplay, artificial reality. This is not a door, and those wonderful signs that you were pointing out. And in fact, I discovered new things today, too, on those signs in the queue line, the how to draw a beaker in 8 steps. But it's so small. It's just part of a larger sign that covers so many other things. So the wordplay and all of that. And then if you look up above, you see all the pipes are decorated with eyes and teeth and faces and all that, just exactly as they would create a Muppet. You would take an object and then what can you do to anthropomorphize this into that, and so many little touches even on the brick wall on the outside here. You have those urns of plants, and if you follow down and you take a look, here's an urn and here's another urn, and then suddenly there's an urn and there's a ice cream sundae in it, and so you get that laugh, you get that smile, and then you walk a little further down, you're seeing an urn with plants, and then you see another urn and you see a whole sundae that's melted, and again, I think unfortunately Disney has trained its guests with Fast Pass and all of this to, let's rush onto the ride. We're not getting our value unless we go on to Rock and Roller Coaster or Tower of Terror, and not just once, but, as many times as possible. And we're missing some of this wonderful attention to detail, this storytelling, these things that will literally make you smile and I think literally heal your heart. Because it's so gentle, it's so fun, and it's that sense of discovery. And one of the things that I particularly love about Muppet Vision 3D and all of these little things is you don't have to have all the trivia books and don't have to visit all the websites and don't have to, get all the homemade DVDs to find these. You can discover these things on your own. You don't have to literally go, oh, yes, underneath the third tulip, the second screw down to the left, that's where the name of the Imagineer is. Okay. No, there's so much out here, for you to discover and enjoy. And as you pointed out, there are things that have changed, like those posters. And, Yet I wonder how many people realize that. And I hope this is being documented somewhere. Somebody's taking pictures.
And just, let me go on record and say, there is some value in some of those trivia books that you alluded to. That being said, I agree with
your books, Lou, of course.
I agree with you 100%. And this is a separate conversation. We preach it all the time about slowing down and taking the time. I mean, look at the people. They walk by the fountain out front and say, oh, it's cute. But don't stop and look to see all the little details and the sight gags in there. Miss Piggy with her Statue of Liberty sash and Gonzo stepping on the Mickey which, is somewhat squashed and stretched, not normally as you see him, certainly in the queue. And we talked about this before, sometimes the Fast Pass is a blessing and a curse because I allude to things like Expedition Everest. The standby queue is so incredibly well themed that I would encourage people not to take the Fast Pass every time. Take your time and walk through the queue because of the details that are in there. And again, I don't need to point them out for you. You should stop and look around. And some time ago on the show, I had Jim Lewis and Craig Shaman, who worked with Jim Henson, who worked on creating Muppet Vision 3D. And they said something that's very true, is that when you look around here and some of the things that you talked about, like the Sunday planters, this is not like Disney took Muppet characters and stuck them into a building. This is very much as if you were visiting the set of the Muppet Show.
Very organic.
And so you can only imagine, had this plaza extended to other buildings and other attractions and some of the other things that, and really one of the other big ones that a lot of people were very, very excited about that was somewhat of a parody of an existing attraction here. This Muppet Land really could have been something special.
Very true. And, even on the fountain there, I was talking with one of the Imagineers, and there was a loop of different things that Gonzo was going to be shouting out from the fountain, and we never got. But, this show is supposed to be about Muppet Studios, and we haven't really even gotten around to that. So why don't we take a walk down into the heart of what Muppet Studios is, and we'll share with some of the listeners the Muppet Studios they never got.
So as we leave the central plaza in front of Muppet Vision, you head down the stairs. On the left-hand side, you have what is now Pizza Planet inside the Metropolitan Department of Water and Power building. And if you continue down what is essentially a street, and you can tell it's a street by the storefronts and the doorways, the no parking and the speed limit 5-mile-an-hour sign, you really are standing where you are going to be in part of the heart of this Muppet land, and you can actually catch a few subtle details that still remain here and there, because if you remember, everything you see has a story associated with it or a meaning behind it, and it holds true, because the first building that you see is Engine Company number 1, above the two giant sort of fire station doors. You can even see the fire department hose hanging from the exposed balcony outside. If you pay very close attention to the end of Muppet Vision 3D, when the fire truck backs into the building, I don't want to spoil it for you, but you'll see that it is, in fact, Engine Company number 1. So it would have come from this location. Next door is the It's a Wonderful Shop above the Parkside Antique sign and Mama Melrose's, but this gym is very different from what they were originally supposed to be.
Absolutely, Lou. In fact, one of the shops here was going to be New Zealand's fish market. And New Zealand, of course, was known for his famous boomerang fish. So up above, you would hear him practicing with the fish and doing his act. But down below in the window, since it was a fish market, you would have fish in the window. Some of them like in a block of ice. And as you walked by, they would come to life and start to flap around and talk to you. Talk about. We talk now about Disney on this whole interactive thing that they want to do. This was the whole plan for Muppet Studios over here. It was going to be constantly interactive for the guests. In fact, one of the clear indications of that was we talked about Mama Melrose's, which I love, and I know you do as well.
I do, but when you hear what was going to be here, I think this may qualify as one of the biggest losses that we didn't get.
Right. It was going to be Great Gonzo's Pandemonium Pizza Parlor, what happened is the Great Gonzo partnered with Rizzo the Rat, and they decided that they were going to open a celebrity Italian restaurant there. And so what happens is they have also hired the Swedish chef to work in the kitchen. So anyway, the restaurant itself would be very much in the style of like a Planet Hollywood. So you would have posters from the films, you would have props from the TV shows and the movies, and you would also have some of those similar fake props that we saw in Muppet Vision 3D, something that would make people smile and go through that. Now, also in there would be lots of TV monitors, because at Planet Hollywood they're constantly running, film clips and all that. What would be happening is they would be running clips of from the TV show and from the films, but every now and then it would stop and they would cut in to give you a progress report of how your meal was going in the kitchen. And so even though Gonzo or Rizzo were desperately trying to convince you that everything was all right, if you looked past them, you saw in the background that lobster bandits had crawled out of the pots and were holding the cooking staff, for hostage. That pizza dough, this massive thing of pizza dough, was attacking the Swedish chef. So constantly things were going wrong. At one point, Gonzo and Carmilla, the chicken, would be sucked up in an exhaust fan. Now, overhead, where you're sitting, there are the air conditioning ducts, and suddenly you hear them up above you trying to find each other, going back and forth through there. And the thing that is most amazing, of course, is that there would be a whole train, the toy train set up around all of the tables, so that Rizzo's relatives would be driving this train to bring out your meal to you, to your table. Now, how they were going to go work through all of that, obviously they would have to have a live serving staff in there as well to help out, but just amazing, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. All of that was in place, and in fact the restaurant was already being prepared, so it was a quick fix to then change it over to Mama Melrose's Ristorante Italiano and come up with a whole nother storyline where Mama Melrose was like a Sophia Loren and came over as a young kid and fed a lot of the Hollywood studios, and so that's where she got the nickname Melrose, because Melrose. So it gets all convoluted. But let's get back to Muppet Studios, because right around the corner from Mama Melrose, of course, is a merchandise shop, which, of course, is very important to Disney guests. This is the Stage 1 company store. But what was amazing about this is that it was designed after the Happiness Hotel in the movie The Great Muppet Movie Caper. And so if you come through the door that is right towards the end of Mama Melrose, you will notice that the sales counter is actually done up as the check-in desk from that film, and along the side you'll have keys for the rooms, and you'll have little signs, please steal linen, it's cheaper than having it cleaned. And all the little boxes, and up above you have the laundry, including Mickey's shorts that are hanging. And something that we came across earlier, Lou, are these over here.
These are it says it's a bus station, and these are the lockers. If you remember the film The Muppets Take Manhattan, this is where they lived. And you can see all the lockers decorated, like the Janices, like the musicians and the playing cards. Lots of great little details on both sides of this little foyer entranceway here. And again, we've watched so many guests walk right through.
And again, you'll see that this is actually the facade for Happiness Hotel, because this is the studios. So up above, overhanging, you have the theatrical stage lights and the rigging and the back there. And then the other part of the store, when this originally opened, was supposed to be for the Muppet Babies nursery. and so there's still some elements of that that exist there. And again, you're seeing props hanging up on the walls there as well to be pulled down to be used in the set, including the rainbow for the first Muppet movie there. And on the outside, it's not completely painted because, again, this is a working studio, so it's in the process of being done.
Well, and to that point, even if I always say to look up and look down, if you look above the counter here, the check-in counter, you'll see all the different doorways to the rooms for the Happiness Hotel. If you look down to the floor, you'll see that the flooring is different. They only had to decorate the floor in this sort of faux marble look for what they would have been shooting straight ahead, so the rest of the flooring doesn't carry over that mustard, maroon, and teal. On the opposite side, you see that it is in fact just a facade, and it says Hotel Lobby Set Production for Whom the Bell Hops. So it's just, brilliant. And those are all, there's tons of those scattered throughout, and I think we'd be doing people a disservice if we tried to just go by and read them all as opposed to inviting you to come in here and to explore yourself. And even if you go to the counter, they even have a scavenger hunt that they'll give you for some things that you can find that you can fill out and get a little prize if you get them all right.
And even listen to the background noise. As long as we're going to be here, the songs that we're hearing are songs from the Muppet movies.
As we look up at the no accordion sign, which is, it's a total throwaway, but it's great.
And there you go. Bus station set, production, bus station zebra. Yeah. So again, wonderful little touches, but again, ones that people miss completely. But I'm glad they're selling a plush Bean Bunny, because that's going to come into the story a little later here. And Lou is laughing off mic because he knows where we're going to head with that. But we're actually going to head immediately to the next big major attraction that was going to be at this location.
And look, if you didn't come in through that door, and see how so well themed and decorated and painted, and look up and look down, and the globe on top painted like Dr. Bunsen Honeydew, and even the front entranceway and the awning Muppetized and with the nose and the ears. But you come out, Jim, and you see this is the exit to Muppet Vision 3D. You come out to this somewhat empty, nondescript plaza again with some of those New York style facades. This area is used occasionally for some special event meet and greets for Star Wars weekends. There's a Cars and a Tow Mater meet and greet out there. At one point it was Toy Story and other characters. But this was here for a reason, because there was supposed to be a lot more here. Oh,
absolutely. And in fact, some of the listeners who are as old as I am and came out here in the 90s remember that this was a real loading dock area, and this actually was the area where years later they performed a much downsized version of Muppets on Location, which was really more of a meet and greet type of thing. So it was a very short show and a meet and greet autograph section that ran for, I think, about 3 years out here, but very, very watered down and cut down from the original plan of doing it in front of the Chinese theater. But yes, right down this way was the home of one of my favorite attractions, which was the Hunchback of Notre Dame show and the theater there. But all of that area for that theater and more had been cleared away for another Muppet attraction. It was going to be the Muppet Movie Ride. And so it was going to parody, of course, the great movie ride here at Disney's Hollywood Studios. And again, you would be in the ride vehicle, and you would be going through scenes of movies, but of course they had been Muppetized. So the first one you went through would be Frankenstein. So you'd have Kermit and Miss Piggy on the steps as the young hero and heroine looking, in shock as the mad scientist, which is Dr. Bunsen Honeydew, is creating a Frankenstein monster, a 10-foot-tall beaker with bolts out of his neck and all of this. And you know it's only a movie because as your vehicle moves along, you see the back facade, back of the facade, and you see that Gonzo is the director. You see that Fozzie is the special effects guy, and he's trying to hook in 2 electrical cords and is having problems because, again, they're going off. You see the skeleton in Fozzie, his bow tie spinning, all of this. You'd go into a scene from Pigs in Space, so you're going on the USS Swine Trek, and it's being attacked by space pirates. Or actually, I should pronounce it pie rats, because it's Rizzo's relatives who love pie, and they are attacking the swine trek, and you're going right through the center of it. And then there would have been another scene devoted to Peter Pan, where you have Kermit as Peter. You have Janice from the Electric Mayhem as Wendy. You have Scooter with his glasses as Studious John. As Michael, you have Fozzie Bear, because in the film, Michael has a little teddy bear. Well, here's Fozzie, and he's got a little boy doll that he's carrying with him as he's flying off to Neverland. And Miss Piggy has been stuffed tightly into this Tinkerbell outfit, and you can see this very visible, heavy rope hanging onto her. But even then, it's not enough to control things, because you see in 1 or 2 places of the set these Miss Piggy style holes that have been made. Now, Statler and Waldorf would be involved as well, because on a movie set you have those golf cart Pargos, and so they would actually be popping up variously throughout the ride to make their typical comments and all of that for that to happen. So you would have had another huge attraction here. So you could have exited Muppet Vision 3D and then right on to the Muppet Movie Ride. And again, all of these were planned out. It wasn't just like, well, this is an idea we'll have, and all. These were all in process of being done, budgeted out, and how do you do the technical things of the electricity and the water and exit routes and the whole bit. So these were all in place, ready to go. And then, of course, Jim Henson sadly passes away May 1990, and it's a whole new game board.
And this really is a testament to the brilliance and the stories behind the stories that only you can tell. Because, look, many of us had heard, there was going to be a great Muppet Movie Ride, and there was going to be a pizzeria themed after Gonzo, but never before have we heard the detail in the stories, which really illustrates how far along it was. I think a lot of us didn't understand how close these things were to being reality. They weren't just, blue sky concepts that were talked about. These were things that were on the drawing board and, like you said, were very far along and being sketched out.
And in fact, the Disney company felt that way as well, that things were just going to be postponed. They were going to be on hiatus, but that by 1993, all of this and more would be existing over here. And so one of the few things, of course, that we have remaining that is close to what Jim Henson envisioned is Muppet Vision 3D. So let's talk a little bit more about that.
Before we go forward to Muppet Vision, because we can easily spend hours talking about it, I think a lot of people, especially now that Disney does own the Muppets, listen, the way you described the great movie ride, Muppet Movie Ride, the 20-year-old concept would work today. So everybody's saying, well, that's great. You've got the space, you've got the franchise, you've got the rights, you have everything ready to go. Why not? Why do you think we're not seeing more of these or attractions like these, which would be an instant draw, an instant success coming into the studios?
It's the nature of the Disney company today. The expansion of Fantasyland at the Magic Kingdom at Walt Disney World. I'm reserving judgment for that, but I've got to say from what I'm seeing, I'm underwhelmed. There's nothing there that it's like, I can hardly wait to see that. I am going to be sleeping overnight for a year to get into the park to see that. I'm sure the additions they're going to make are fine. I'm not so in love with Toontown Fair that my heart is bleeding that there are going to be changes there. But the changes that are happening, I'm just not excited about. But again, from an economic standpoint, this is, an incremental little thing. With the Muppets, I think the problem is not just the amount of money investment, but the fact that the Disney company doesn't feel that the Muppets have a high enough profile. So why invest the money? It makes more sense at this particular point in the short term to invest in an Iron Man 2 ride or something like that. The difference is Walt would have said, the Muppets have lasted this long. Look at the people coming out of the exit as we're seeing now. They're happy. They've enjoyed it, and this is a huge crowd. It's not like there's a small crowd going in and seeing this attraction. This is a full house or close to a full house, and so I'm going to invest that money because that's going to get things back into motion. But I think. Today, the Disney company is much more fiscally conservative when it comes to the Disney parks, and sadly, with the Walt Disney World parks, which have always been the orphans. Disneyland has always been the jewel in the crown. Out here, it's like even with 4 parks and all the water parks and the resorts, it's still like, oh, well, that's out there on the East Coast.
I believe that were Disney to leverage this, and that's why I started off this segment by talking about how timeless they are, and they have the power and the resources to reintroduce this in so many ways, and I think they're starting to do that, maybe testing the waters online virally. They could really reinvigorate this franchise, which can very much sustain itself. Out of all the concepts we talked about, whether it be just sort of the movie, the Muppet Movie Land, or was it the restaurant, or was there one thing that you would love to have seen more than any of the others?
Actually, all of it. Because I think it all just added to each other, and would have created again a land of its own, an atmosphere of its own. It's like. Okay, you're going to Adventureland. What is the one that you like? The Jungle Cruise, or the Pirates, or the original Tiki Room, they all just make up the whole thing together. And when people always ask me, what is your favorite ride? It's always tough because sometimes it depends on my mood. Sometimes it depends on whether I've seen it recently or not. So, but I completely agree with you that the Muppets is still a very, very viable franchise, and but it's going to take someone of vision. Unfortunately, we don't have a Jim Henson, but I'm sure there are people out there who can recreate a similar vision that will bring that back. Because even without publicity, even without a steady TV show or whatever, people recognize these characters. People love these characters. That's not something you can artificially create. Like they tried to do Poochie the Pup on the Simpsons and all that, or for that matter, Disney tried to do with Bonkers, tried to create their own version of Roger Rabbit, and an audience said, nope, not interested.
And look, they're still buying merchandise that's in there, not just from Muppet Vision 3D, and like you said, it was great to see Bean Bunny and some of the other, but other merchandise because, and I was watching adults purchase Kermit the Frog plushes, so it will very much be self-sustaining. My answer was going to be what your answer was not an attraction specific, but the idea of this Muppet Land. One thing that the Disney Hollywood Studios doesn't really have a sort of this. There is the Echo Lake area and there's the Streets of America, but no real sort of distinctions of land. So imagine what the landscape would be like here in 2010 if there was Muppet Movie Land, if there was the Roger Rabbit Land, if they were to expand, it should only happen, the Star Tours area, to really increase that relationship with George Lucas and the Star Wars franchise, which again continues to reinvest in itself and reinvigorate itself with the Clone Wars.
And in fact, there have been I know plans on the table to expand that area between Indiana Jones and Star Tours to make that a Lucas land, and to expand a Pixar land, from Pixar Place. And I think you're absolutely right that it would appeal to people. And, we're dealing with a different audience. When it comes to Star Wars, I have a 5-year-old nephew, and he loves Star Wars, has never seen any of the films, has never seen any of the animated things. He's only played the Wii game. But he still comes to Disney Hollywood Studios when they have Star Wars weekends, and he knows the characters. And, so there's many ways of bringing in and leveraging that franchise. But, not every idea is the best idea to begin with, because with Muppet Vision 3D, when Jim Henson was tasked with creating that, he came up with what he thought this was going to be the perfect story. The film, the story of Muppet Vision 3D, was going to be the Bean Bunny Show. And I tell people that, and they look at me as if I've got a second head. But you have to remember that Bean Bunny, who first performed by Steve Whitmire, very talented puppeteer who took over Kermit after Jim Henson passed away. Bean Bunny had been introduced in 1986 in Tale of the Bunny Picnic, and by 1989 he was a major character on the Jim Henson Hour on TV. And I think it was Jim Henson's intent that this is the Disney MGM Studios. What I want to do is I want to do something that's specific to Disney, not just shoehorn the Muppets in. Fortunately, the Imagineers talked with him and said, well, hey, we've had luck, like on the Star Wars franchise, if we use characters that people are familiar with, and then you can do that. And so then they changed around the entire film. Now, yes, Jim directed the entire film that you see in there, but once that film was made, they screened it and they saw that there was some weakness, especially in the middle. So there needed to be some scenes to be rewritten and refilmed and all that. But they had worked so hard on it, they decided to take a vacation. And during that vacation, that's when Jim Henson passed away. And so when they gathered back together, the writer for the film, Bill Prady, who had written a lot for Henson Associates, was brought back in to help storyboard a couple of scenes. And then Frank Oz was brought in to direct. And something that had not been filmed yet was the Waldo C. graphic. So Jim Henson was aware that the character was going to be in the film, but they increased, especially since they had done this so well, because they had storyboarded it in 3D so that they could see it from all sides in the audience there. They had actually come in under budget, so they had a couple of extra bucks. So they increased Waldo's participation in the film. The animation was done by Pacific Data Images, that later got absorbed by DreamWorks. So the same company that did Shrek did Waldo C. Graphic. And yes, that's his official name, Waldo C. Graphic. And the C, of course, stands for computer graphic. And so that was finally put together. The film, by the way, was filmed out in California. It was filmed, a lot of it was filmed on stage 3. So the first scene that was filmed was Miss Piggy out by the lake. That was filmed on stage 3 at the Disney Studios, which is where 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea was filmed. And the other side of stage 3 was where they did the Muppet Labs hallway. In fact, when you're looking at Muppet Labs and you're seeing Dr. Bunsen Honeydew, that machine there, look to the top and look to the right, and you see on the conveyor belt, you see the exact same glasses that you're wearing. He's creating those right then and there for you. The final scene was filmed on the Disney Studios backlot on the same street where Something Wicked This Way Comes had just been filmed. And so even though people think it was filmed at Disney World or whatever, no, it was filmed on the backlot there, and all of that was put together. So a very funny film, and actually a couple of amusing things happened during the filming. Steve Whitmire, as I said, a very good Muppeteer, in the big finale, the salute to all nations, but mostly America. And you have those little soldier characters, and you'll see some of those in the prop room there without pants. At one point, he got accidentally too close to the cannon that was going off, and it blew off the character's arm. And so Steve Whitmire then has, and remember, no person was hurt because the Muppets and all are over people's heads, does this tremendous death scene for the character, and people are just losing it. It's so funny. It really is the pee in your pants, roll on the floor funny. And Jim Henson finally had to come up to him and said, "That's very funny. If that ever happens again, don't ever do that." Also, in that final scene where the bricks are exploding, special effects did it so well that one of the bricks literally went hurtling out and smashed into the mirror that was on the 3D camera. And you have to have that mirror in order to keep, both things focused in. And so it smashed that. That is actually the take that is used in the final film, although they dissolve right before the bricks come flying towards your face there. So pretty fascinating stuff, huh?
And again, we kind of just scratched the surface of the details that are in there, the stories that are in there, some of the incredible sight gags. And I think that's why, we watched it again this morning. We found ourselves still laughing at the jokes that we knew that were coming, or whispering to each other, "Oh, Jim, look at that. Lou, look at this. Oh, look at the arrow next to Statler and Waldorf's, box in the balcony. Make sure you turn around and look at the Swedish chef and what goes on at the beginning and at the end of the film." And I think that's the beauty of this attraction, why it still remains timeless, and I think why many people are still clamoring for more Muppets, especially here in the theme parks. Obviously, Disney's Hollywood Studios would still be, I think, the perfect fit. They have the franchise, they have the space, they've got the talent. Maybe they have John Lasseter, who has that vision to maybe do some of the things that many of us are hoping for.
And again, there's an awful lot of some of Henson's old crew still around too, who could get involved. And because again, one of the questions that was always asked, what would Walt do? And the same thing holds true for Jim Henson. What would Jim Henson do? Well, who knows? Jim Henson was always so far ahead of the curve that anything could happen. But I think there are people like a Frank Oz and all who could say, this would have been Jim's style of thinking. This would have been his style of humor, and we could go in this direction. And yes, I think one of the things we see back here especially is an awful lot of young people. And so, for those people not buying into the Princess franchise or the Fairy franchise or the Pirates franchise, this is, I think, both healthier and could be much more lucrative. I worry about my little nephew going around swinging a sword, but I think I would love to have him exposed to the Muppets and get that sort of Mad Magazine sense of humor and perspective into his life, and also just the gentleness. Even in the monster Muppets, there's a gentleness, there's a sense of family, very much in keeping with the Disney brand. So, yeah.
And just like Jim Korkis, they're fuzzy and cuddly, and you just want to hug one. You just want to hug a Jim Korkis. If there was a Jim Korkis Muppet, they wouldn't be able to keep him on the shelves. So, Jim, this has really been an incredibly fascinating look back at the history of the relationship, the stories behind the stories, into the people, into the relationships, and unfortunately, or the things that we never got to see. here at Disney's Hollywood Studios with the Muppets. We can only hope of what the future might bring. It is always a pleasure, and I mean that, to have you on the show, to hear more of Jim's wonderful work and hear the stories only he can tell. Go back to past episodes of the WDW radio show. Check out his wonderful contributions to Celebrations magazine, where he's able to share some of the things that only Jim Korkis can tell. And, of course, stay tuned to future episodes where we will have Jim back for more of his stories behind the stories. Jim Korkis, my favorite Muppet, thank you as always.
Well, thank you so much. Gracious as always, Lou. And, again, just a delight to spend time with you. Also a delight to share stories. I know you're fond of saying these are stories only Jim Korkis knows, and I'm both flattered by that, but I'm also frightened by that I may be the only one who knows some of these stories. So thankfully now some of your listeners have those stories and can pass those on. And as you said, we've got lots more stories to share, so I'm looking forward to seeing you again soon, Lou. Thank you so much.
And that's why I'm going to keep you hermetically sealed, safe in a box, and not let you out so we can get all these stories out and shared. So thanks again, Jim.
Yep. Thank you.
Sam, are you about ready?
Yes, it's a glorious 3-hour finale.
You got a minute and a half.
That's all the time we have for this week's show. Thanks so much for tuning in. And if you're a mom or mom-to-be, I hope you had a wonderful, wonderful, and very happy Mother's Day this week. Thanks also go to my good friend, Jim Korkis, for taking the time and touring the studios with me. For more on Jim Korkis, go back to the archives, find some of Jim's other appearances on the show, and also check out his articles with the stories behind the stories in Celebrations magazine. You can subscribe to that, order back issues, or find out more over at celebrationspress.com. If you enjoyed our discussion on the Muppets, please come by the site over at WDWradio.com and comment on this week's show notes. Give me your thoughts on the Muppets in Walt Disney World. And if you see the show when it reopens on or about May 14th, let us know what you think. Tell us about the changes. What do you think about the future of the Muppets? Maybe what you would like to see the Muppets be or do inside Walt Disney World. And while you're there, also check out some of the other blog posts, photos, news, trivia, vacation planning, history, and so much more. And remember, come by and comment on any of the posts there as well. Stay tuned this week for a new video that I'll be releasing from the parks. Again, you can check that out right on WDWradio.com, or if you subscribe to the show via iTunes, it'll automatically update in your feed. Also, while you're on the site, come by the forums. There you can talk about the show or anything Disney with the more than 33,000 members of the WDW Radio family. It's fun, free, easy to join up and have some great conversations going on there. Also, be sure and follow me over on Twitter. It's twitter.com/Lou Mongello. And come over and like the WDW Radio page over on Facebook. That's facebook.com/WDW Radio. And just a quick reminder, if you have sent me a friend request or asked me to like your page over on Facebook, please know I am not ignoring you. I have unfortunately reached my Facebook-imposed limit on the number of friends I can have and pages that I can like. Please come by, join the WDW Radio page. I am trying to work out a solution to this in the meantime, but I will be posting updates both to my personal profile and the WDW Radio page as well. Couple of things, couple of announcements about upcoming events. Don't forget that Saturday, May 22nd, is going to be the start of the 24-hour live show from Walt Disney World. And if you're going to be in the parks, you could also come by, be part of the fun, because we're going to have our Meet of the Month that day as well. That's going to be Saturday, May 22nd, from 2 to 4 p.m. over at Disney's Hollywood Studios. We're going to meet over at the Studio Catering Company. Come by, meet up, have some fun. It's also going to be Star Wars weekend, so there's going to be a lot going on. And if you can't get down to the parks, remember, you can watch for the entire 24 hours by visiting WDWRadioLive.com. I'll be broadcasting from Walt Disney World starting around 10 a.m. on Saturday, hopefully going to continue on till 10 a.m. Sunday morning. You can watch there. You can also chat It's free. I suggest you go over to ustream.tv, sign up for a free account. This way you're ready to go and come by the chat room when the 24-hour show starts on May 22nd. If you are going to be there in Walt Disney World that Saturday, there are just a few tickets left for our special evening where we're having a private viewing of Illuminations, Reflections of Earth. There are no walk-ups allowed. You do need to purchase your tickets in advance. And again, we have just a couple of tickets left. It's going to be Saturday night, starting around 8:15, going till about 9:30 or so, obviously in Epcot for Illuminations. It's $25 per person, and we're asking for a minimum $5 donation to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. For more information, you can check out this week's show notes with a link over to Mouse Fan Travel, where you can purchase your tickets. Now, I do have a very important announcement about the 24-hour live show. The original intent, when I decided to do this, was specifically not just to have fun and to try and do a 24-hour show, but to raise money for the Make-A-Wish Foundation through our Dream Team project. I have recently come to learn that for legal reasons, we're going to be unable to do any live fundraising during the show. Now, that being said, I will do a special event at another time specifically to do fundraising. I've got some great ideas as to how you can be involved, help make a difference during another live show. But I'm not going to be able to do some of those things during the 24-hour show for a variety of reasons. However, remember, you can always donate at any time directly to Make-A-Wish through the Dream Team Project's secure partner page right on their site. If you visit dreamteamproject.org, there's information as well as a link directly over to Make-A-Wish from there. So while I can't do anything specific during the show, remember, you can always make a difference anytime. And if my borderline insanity at deciding to broadcast for 24 hours straight inspires you to donate, even better. Do it before, do it after, and again, stay tuned for some other announcements and some other really cool fundraising things that we'll be able to do live at another time. Other events coming up, don't forget, if you're going to be up in the Northwest in August, on August 14th is the Pacific Northwest Mouse Meet. It is the second annual event. I will be back there again this year. Really excited about it. There are a lot of great things going on at that, including celebrities, Disney Imagineers, Margaret Kerry, authors, podcasters, a show and sale. Really, really good time. For more information, you can visit pnwmousemeet.com. If you like Jim Korkis on this week's show, you've got to come by and join us for Congaloosh in October. It's a full weekend from October 8th through the 12th. Jim Korkis is going to do multiple live tours in the parks, as well as discussions. There's going to be a private dinner and show by the Adventurers Club cast. The original cast, as the original characters, is going to be coming on stage at the Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular after the park is closed. We'll be having dinner there right on stage. On Saturday, I'll be giving a tour of the Jungle Cruise. There's also going to be a show and sale, a banquet, Q&A with the Adventurers Club cast, lots more. Sunday, more events going on, more from Jim Korkis. And for more information, come by and visit congaloosh.org. That's CONGALOOSH.org. The link for that is in this week's show notes. Come by, join the WDW Radio Explorers Tribe for what is going to be a really, really fun weekend. And of course, we are counting down the days to the WDW Radio cruise aboard the Disney Dream on February 27th, 2011. We're still working and getting ready to announce some special events, some gatherings, lots more going on. For more information, to get a free, no-obligation quote and to find out more, come by wdwradiocruise.com. Remember, too, I want you guys to be involved in the show, so if you have any questions that you want answered, you can email me at lou@wdwradio.com. If you want a chance to be called on the phone to play Listener Fact or Fiction to possibly win some prizes, email me your name and your phone number, and I may call you at a random time, ask you 10 true or false trivia questions about Walt Disney World. And if you want to be heard on the air, call the toll-free voicemail line at 888-703-2171. And if you're looking for some additional ways to get a little bit of Disney magic in your inbox or on your phone, come by the site at wdwradio.com, sign up for our free email newsletter, that includes information, articles, links, trivia, exclusive special merchandise offers, and lots more. And if you have an iPhone, iTouch, or iPad, you can now get the free WDW Radio app from the iTunes Store. It gives you easy, instant access to information from the site, including blog posts, the podcast, videos, the forums, lots more. Also exclusive access to what may be coming soon from WDW Radio. And if you enjoy it, please rate it and post reviews for it. And of course, let others know. Help spread the word. One thing I can tell you that is coming soon is the next audio guide to Walt Disney World. I am finishing up work on Liberty Square now. Stay tuned for a potential release date coming soon. Also, come by the site. You can still get Main Street USA, Adventureland, and Fantasyland on CD or downloads. You can also get signed copies of my Walt Disney World trivia books right from the site. And as always, my friends, if you like the show, all I ask is that you please help spread the word. Let others know about it. Rate and review the show on iTunes. If you're on Twitter, tweet about it or post on Facebook that you're listening to and hopefully enjoying the show. And most of all, remember to take your first step towards following your dreams and pursuing your passion. And always, always keep moving forward. I hope you have a great, great week this week. Thanks again for listening. See ya.
Hey, Lou, it's Sean from Atlanta. Hey, I just wanted to say I'm a big fan of the show. Love what you're doing. You keep me going through the tough times at work, and you just bring a little magic to my work day, especially Monday and everything. I get to listen to a brand new podcast. Just listen to the new one about the Magical Express. Amazing information and everything about the Magical Express and everything. Also, I've got a new, possibly maybe a top 10. Maybe you guys could do a top 10 things they most like about Tower of Terror. I know that's not Tim Foster's favorite ride, but you never know. You might ride it just to love to see what he'd come up on the top 10 or top 10 favorite attractions in the Hollywood studios and everything. I used to work over there as a cast member and everything at the Hollywood Tower of Terror and Rock and Roll Roller Coaster. So I just want to give a shout out to all my peeps over there if they're listening to the WDW radio show. If not, you guys need to. It's amazing and everything. And I'm just looking forward to getting down there probably either like September or October. I'm going through a Disney frenzy and everything where basically I watch Disney movies because I miss the Disney magic so much. Well, thanks for what you're doing, Lou, and I'll shoot you an email today or sometime. I got a couple questions to ask you and everything. But just keep what you're doing, and you have a magical day, and have a fantastic week. And I can't wait to hear the next podcast. And good luck on May 22nd on your 24-hour broadcast and everything. I'll try to listen as much as I can. I'll be at a festival in Atlanta and everything, so hope to hear as much as I can, Lou. But you take care, man, and have a great weekend. And to all you Disney freaks out there, have a magical day.
Hey, Lou, this is Mike.
And Tommy Smith.
Tommy Smith, you just did a segment with my mom about single parents taking their kids to Disney. We just wanted to say that we have the best mom in the world. Thank you for all the great memories at Disney. Woo!
Hey, Lou. This is Kiara. I wanted to talk about episode 164, which was April 4th, 2010. What I thought should have been on the list, and it wasn't, in my opinion, was Rock and Roller Coaster, Test Track, the Mad Teacups, Pirates of the Caribbean, Splash Mountain, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, Space Mountain, Mount Everest, Dinosaurs, and the Great Movie Ride. And what I also don't really get is when you were talking about Peter Pan, how popular it is, because I remember getting on that ride and it took us, it was at night, almost, I think it was right after the fireworks and it was still full. It was a 30 to 40-minute wait, and I just don't understand why it's so popular. And another thing is that I don't agree of Mission to Space being, on the top 10 great rides at Disney because it just, I mean, before I went on, they didn't have the other version. And it wasn't the greatest thing I've ever been on. It actually kind of scared me to death, and I thought I was going to die, but I'm just joking. But I don't agree on that. But hopefully you can answer my question about Peter Pan, and those are my top 10.
Hey, Lou, John from Somerville, South Carolina. I was just catching up show 166. Martin emailed about The Lion King in Walt Disney World where things can be seen. When we were at Epcot last weekend, they had pretty much every Lion King character as a topiary in Epcot, so maybe that's something you could check out. See ya.
Hi, Lou. It's Donna calling from Ontario, Canada. WDW Donna on your website. Just a comment to the couple that are getting married in Disney World in May. We were married at that gazebo at the Yacht Club almost exactly 16 years ago to their wedding day. And we also did, we had about 13 people, and we did the Polynesian luau dinner that night for our rehearsal dinner. I don't know if that's still going on or if it's still as good as it was 16 years ago, but Ohana's, I think, would be an excellent choice. My husband and I did Ohana last visit, and that would be a fantastic, I think, idea. I know when we did the Aloha dinner at the Polynesian, everybody loved it. They got my husband up on stage doing the hula because they needed to pick on us because we were the ones getting married, and it was a lot of fun. And then after the wedding at the gazebo, we had a few pictures taken, and then it was dinner at Yachtsman, and then everybody jumped in the pool and the hot tub at the Yacht and Beach Club. So brings back a lot of memories listening to that email about the couple getting married at the Yacht and Beach Club, and congratulations, and hope you have a wonderful time. Thanks, Lou. Keep up the awesome work. Bye-bye.
Lou, this is Terry Gaff, and I'm hoping to make the voicemail at the end of the show because I wanted to inform my wife that we're going with you on the Disney Dream for our 35th wedding anniversary. I am looking forward to it in ways you have no idea, and I'm looking forward to seeing you and Becky and the gang. Have a great day. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Hey, Lou, it's Bob from Ottawa, a.k.a. Canadian Box Guy, a.k.a. Tina from Ottawa's Disney Geek husband, and we're just calling. We got your tweet saying that you'd like to hear from everybody, so we thought it'd be a perfect time to call in and say hi to Lou and everybody to listen. So here's Maddie. Say hi, Matt. Say hi, Lou.
Hi, Lou. Bye.
Say hi, Lou.
Hi, Lou.
Hi, Lou. It's Tina from Ottawa. Glad to hear your tweet, and we'll see you in about 300 days.
And that's just a reminder that it's only 300 days until the cruise. It's exactly 300 days away today. So I hope everyone's looking forward to it, and we'll talk to you guys again later. Thanks, Lou. Keep up great work. Bye.
That was wonderful.
Bravo!
I loved that.
Oh, it was great.
Well, it was pretty good.
Well, it wasn't bad.
Well, there were parts of it that weren't very good, though.
It could have been a lot better.
I didn't really like it.
It was pretty terrible.
It was bad.
It was awful.
It was terrible.
Get him away!